So you've seen the title, but before we get into this, I want to address the fact that Rainbow Rumble has a bit of a problem, which is that, of course, it's adopted a lot of the stylings and the energy around a particular wrestling tournament, but as much as the casters and even the organisers would love to say, let's get ready to rumble, they legally can't. So before we start, I would like to offer a couple of alternatives that I've come up with for this iconic phrase. Number 1, let's get rumble ready. Number 2, it is now time to rumble, my comrades. Number 3, rumble right now, please. Number 4, the rumbling is cumbling. And number 5, my tumbly is getting rumbly. You can use any of those absolutely free of charge. I won't hold it to you at all. So Grace Whippet Gibson, you're welcome.
3 hours later.
So we're starting an official side quest right now. I didn't quite realise how deep the let's get ready to rumble thing goes. I was born in the 90s. I clearly missed all this. This guy, Michael Buffer, has been doing it since 1982. Here is that iconic line.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Beautiful. I shouldn't have cut him off, really. It's just that good. But I didn't realise, did you know that Anton Deck made a rap video in the 90s before they were famous that sampled this?
Get ready to rumble! Sit back, rap attack, don't take no flack. Rhyme in time to the rhythm of the track. I'm Declan, a duo, a twosome. So many lyrics, we're fine to use them.
What is going on? I had no idea this existed. And then, so apparently they called it Let's Get Ready to Rumble because they had to avoid copyright. By this point, I think early 90s, Michael Buffer had already copyrighted the phrase, but it appeared in a ton of other songs and he lended his own voice to them. So this is a track by KOs featuring Michael Buffer, and it's just a long intro with him.
This is the moment
over the top.
we've all been waiting for.
For some reason, inverts the microphone.
Let's get ready to rumble!
And now it's the 90s.
Tell me, are you ready? Come on, let's get ready now. Come on, baby, let's get ready.
It's madness. Apparently, there's so much history here. He trademarked it in 1984. He'd acquired a trade... he started using it in 1984, trademarked it in 92, and then it just appears in a million other things, including variations where in the Kraft cheese commercial he says, let's get ready to crumble, and most recently for Progressive Insurance where he says, let's get ready to bundle. He's earned $400 million in licensing revenue. So no wonder, our Rainbow Six North Rumble can't use this. You can't pay this man for that. Insane. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled program. Now, with that out of the way, why should you watch Rumble and Combine over the next few days? Well, first and foremost, it's a perfect primer for Stage 2. You've got Eminem, Wolves, Wild and Heroic all involved, so if you want a taste of what to expect when all of Stage 2 kicks off in September, then you'll want to keep track of this. Rumble, in particular, at the moment, is the best showcase of up-and-coming Tier 2 players that we have, many of whom will be undoubtedly on the radar for a lot of these big sides, and some of them might already even have seats at the top for the start of Stage 2 and beyond. With no promotions anymore, this is basically the prime purpose of these leagues for these players. So expect them to bring their A game and show up and aim to impress. One small reason to tune in is that it will be our last chance to see Villa and Theme Park in the map pool for quite a while. But my biggest reason, and the bulk of this video, is about just how many rivalries and storylines there are between the sides that are competing. And they're going to make for undoubtedly a dramatic set of finals. First up, Combine. So the grand final will take place tomorrow between Eminem and Wolves, and there's a lot of history here. These two represent arguably the most consistent teams in Europe over the past year. Eminem looked like one of the best teams in the world at one point, being the only side to take a single map off of W7M at the Copenhagen Major, while Wolves have made it to every single major event since their entry into Siege at the start of 2022 as an organisation, and that's a stat that's only matched by, once again, W7M, so it's no surprise that both teams walked their way through all the Tier 2 challenges to reach the grand final of Combine. I'll throw the head-to-head up on the screen right now so you can take a look. To summarise, Eminem seem to have the edge when it comes to longer series, best of threes, but Wolves have that recency bias of winning the most recent best of one during the qualifiers. So could go either way in a best of 5, but my money would be on M&M. Can I just mope for a moment about how after qualifiers, 96 division clash matches and 48 conference clash matches featuring the best of European Tier 2 Siege, these big bunguses get to just show up, win 4 maps each, and now our only off-season LAN in Europe is a single best of 5 between 2 Tier 1 sides. Kinda sucks. M&M could be making a habit of just showing up in finals to win stuff as well. They did it just now at the Japan Invitational. Anyhow, it should be a pretty great match as a spectacle, and tickets have sold out, which is a great sign for the potential of future LANs. For the Tier 2 purists among us, there is yet hope. I mentioned interesting rivalries earlier, and Rainbow Rumble is absolutely chock full of them, even with only 4 teams remaining for the grand finals this weekend. Both groups were topped by Tier 2 teams, with the Tier 1 teams in Wild and Heroic coming second to both Calories and LFO. So it's very exciting to see the strength of Tier 2 despite this Tier 1 presence. Any 4 of these teams could meet each other during the finals as well, depending on who wins and who loses. So there's a lot of potential stories to look out for and prepare for. We could see a Heroic versus Calories grand final rematch of the MPL final from last year. It's not out of the question, but strangely enough, if that does happen, only the coaches of Kangaroo Kenny and Mr. Officer have remained. And Grizzly and Leader are both there, but on opposite sides now. So it's almost not a grudge match anymore. Except for the fact that Mr. Officer and Kenny are totally leaning into this rivalry and have even had like on-broadcast call-outs to each other, WWE style, which I absolutely love.
Calories. What kind of name is that? I'm trying to get rid of my calories, as I'm gonna get rid of you tonight.
The other potential Tier 1 versus Tier 2 matchup that we're not dealt with at the start is LFO versus Wild, which could happen. Teb being the first Italian to make Tier 1, just ahead of Gemini a few weeks later, and X-Makers on the other side of things being the first Italians to reach a 6 Invitational. Could be a bit of drama there, but that's maybe fishing a little. If we get a matchup between Wild and Heroic, the 2 Tier 1 sides in the equation, they were both in different groups during Stage 1 of Europe League and in different groups in Rumble, of course. So the only time they've actually played this whole year was this time. Not Heroic's finest moment. Can you imagine Calories and LFO win their best of ones and we see Wild versus Heroic in the lower bracket elimination game on day 1? It's absolutely not out of the question the way that these seedings have panned out. If LFO end up taking on Calories, there was a time around the end of 2022 when these two teams got to know each other very well. In the EU Challenger League, they both shared a group and traded best of ones and then finished 2nd and 3rd overall in playoffs, with 10-Star taking the best of 3 series and 2 maps in the upper bracket final. But then later on in January, during the 6 Invitational Open qualifiers, Makers knocked out 10-Star in the first match of the final 8 with their own 2-0 victory. They built up such a rivalry during that intense period of playing each other constantly, but since then, somehow the 2 titans of Tier 2 have not met at all. During all of the open qualifiers for Copenhagen, all of the combine qualifiers and groups, and the same for Rumble. And because it's been that long, all of the 10-Star players have moved on to bigger and better things. And now we just have Calories in their place. That covers all of the potential matchups, but of course we have 2 best of ones to get through at the very start of things. Calories versus Wild, we'll see Kaneo face up against Aces, his former teammate, and Jegs up against Kenny, which is rather bittersweet, I think, for Kenny. Father, why have you forsaken me? Last on the list of matchups, LFO versus Heroic, which we will see at the start of the weekend, and nothing. They played against each other once in Gamers Without Borders Open qualifiers, and Heroic won 7-2, only to then be immediately knocked out by Wolves, so I doubt there's any bad blood there. There is next to zero history here of any kind, no player connections, I couldn't find anything really. Good thing the first match is a best of one, because I can't find any way to hype this one up. Besides the fact that Acqui and Lolo may just turn on God mode, as they have done throughout the whole of the Rumble group stage. They have been utterly terrifying Italians. Stop them, please, someone. On that note, a chat about the format. First round best of ones. Not the biggest fan, but a lot of the time, as with MPL finals last year, it's a bit of a necessity to fit in a whole double elimination bracket in one weekend. So I can live with that. It's not the worst. In my opinion, it might affect things because it gives Wild in particular a better chance to push past Calories, as they've shown to be a notoriously scary best of one side in the past. even if the most recent data from the group stage doesn't necessarily support that. Overall, I do love the double elimination format though. It threw up some fantastic storylines when it came to last year's MPL. It's a tried and tested format. The best team will win, and I can't wait to find out who that is. That's it for now. This was a slightly less scripted video than I usually make, so let me know if it felt better or worse, or whether you didn't notice at all. It's all useful feedback for me. I'm mainly waiting for stage 2 to be fully announced, because I have something pretty big and interesting in the works. I won't say too much more about it. A lot about the esports scene is going to be revealed when we get that information, so I'll be keeping a very close eye on it, and you should too. And if you want to keep a close eye on things, do the things with the buttons down there. That sounded really bad. For legal reasons, I mean press subscribe and like and stuff. Bye.